Greetings, Earthlings. I have a hip-hop themed update for you. It's not really. I had a dream I was wearing my Kango and I lost it and I got upset. So I thought I'd get it out of the box and put it on. Right. So, as I expected, Israel is using the fact that they now have caliphists buttressed up against them as an excuse to, fortify Israel and some other things. The situation is fluid, but as well as the fact that Israel now believes that it has the enemy right against its borders, it preferred Assad. That paired with some other factors, this is not over yet. And some Syrians abroad talking about going home, you might want to call your boots, because this is likely to get very messy. Right, Israel likely to be cautiously happy and optimistic after fall of Assad. Analyst Trita Parsi says the Israelis are likely to be cautiously happy and optimistic over the fall of the Assad government in Syria. On the one hand, it's very positive for them to have dealt a significant blow to Iran, to Iran's access to Lebanon, and to the Axis as a whole. But on the other hand, what comes next? Parsi Executive Vice President at the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft told Al Jazeera at the Doha Forum. He said in the past, the Israeli government preferred al-Assad to the opposition as long as he remained weak and a non-threat. How is he not a threat if he's supplying Hezbollah? Let's move on. But its perspective appears to have shifted in the past few months. You mean while they were fortifying the Golan Heights and they were clearing mines along the Alpha Line and building a road? There's more to that later. Nevertheless, he noted it wasn't a scenario that Israel was entirely comfortable with. What is clear is they're taking advantage of it because they're establishing a buffer zone, a new one. There's no peep of objection from the international community, nothing from the United States. However, that cannot likely remain the case with the new Syrian government having a problem with it, he noted. On what the likely position of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, and other opposition groups is to be on Palestine, Parsi said people in Gaza and the occupied West Bank as a whole have been very supportive of the Syrian revolution. The idea that the new Syrian government is suddenly pretending as if the Palestinian issue is not one of the most important issues that animates the entire Middle East, I find shocking. I don't believe that that is likely at all. I agree. And just to ram the point home here, what does al-Assad's fall mean for Israel? Israel is watching developments like a hawk. According to Israeli media, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has instructed members of his Likud party not to comment on what is happening. But we do know this. The Israel Security Cabinet has been meeting since Thursday. There was another meeting yesterday. The Israeli army has announced fortifications in the occupied Syrian Golan. It dug a trench between the Golan and the rest of Syrian territory and threatened to target any opposition forces that had approached the border. They dug a trench overnight, did they? Okay. That's a big-ass trench, I'm telling you, if they did it all the way down the border of the Panhandle. They were preparing for this. There is public debate about whether Israel should also bombard certain strategic weapons that the al-Assad regime had in order to avoid them falling into the hands of some of the armed groups. And obviously I'd be worried if I was Syrian, because we know that Israeli doesn't care about collateral damage. On the flip side, Israel stands to benefit from what is happening. By severing relations with Iran, the armed groups now in control of Syria will deprive Iran of its geopolitical extension to Lebanon and its important ally Hezbollah. That really changes the dynamics in the region. of course, Israel has been bombing sites across Syria for over a year now, so they've obviously softened the army in preparation for this, especially for the past few months. It has used airspace in Syria with impunity. Yeah, okay. Now, about a year ago, we were also warned that Daesh was reforming. That's gone quiet, although their name came back up about a week ago. Also, thousands of the Syrian army members have fled into Iraq, where they will be met as brothers by factions like the Iraqi version of Hezbollah. There are various other jihadist groups in there. The US Army is still stationed in Iraq, even though they were supposed to have left at least 4 years ago. And is it the president or the prime minister of Iraq told the US in no uncertain terms recently that if you don't start packing up, your troops are going to leave in body bags. So, Israel's already signaled that Iraq would be next. This is just setting up the pretext for the next phase of the war, because Netanyahu's not going to give up power because he doesn't want to go to jail. So he needs to keep this conflict going as long as possible, and he's just set up the perfect pretext for more support for Hamas whilst clearing the northern border. They've effectively neutered Hezbollah, and they can now probably just start bombing southern Lebanon again. They'll just keep saying that Hezbollah have violated the ceasefire, and they'll just flatten southern Lebanon and force everybody out of there, and they will take southern Lebanon up to the Litani. That was always part of the plan. And that's in IDF literature, if you don't believe me. Read Ilan Pape, it's all in there. Yeah, so there's going to be something happening next in Iraq, would be my guess. No doubt the US is probably going to start getting the shit kicked out of it in there, and they'll be forced into it, which will be ideal for Israel, because at the moment Trump doesn't want any part of this, or at least he says so. But Iraq gets them another step closer to Iran. That's the end goal. Okay, they want to take out Iran.